And I think the practice thing is another element to it, because like one of the ways that I have got fairly proficient, I hope, at creating content is using lower forms of media. Like to me, an Instagram story live is like, that's the batting cages. If you want to do a live or face a camera on a story, like that is your ability to fuck up and delete it and no one has to see it. And you also don't need to piss off Jay Marsh by you trying to figure out how to put a sentence together. Like if you're going to flesh out an idea, talk face to camera in your fucking bathroom until you get it right. And then you go, oh, hey, Jay Marsh, I got one. Okay, blah, 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 bicep curl, right? It's just, I don't think people practice it. And it's like, man, if you realize how impactful this arm of your business could be, you'd be paying more attention to it.
Yeah. And like you said, practice, right? If you're going to be getting in front of the camera, you got to be cool. You got to you can't show that you're tripping out. And you know what? Like, not to throw you under the bus here, but like we were shooting at Sky, right? And I think we were like considering like, maybe we'll start posting some more stuff to YouTube, like training stuff. And I think we got in the truck and you could tell you're uncomfortable because I think you went, all right, guys. And I was like, where the fuck did the clap come from? like it's just and clearly that's not for us, right? The whole YouTube daily vlogging training thing is not for us. Instead, we're going to do what you're comfortable with, right? Which is yelling at the internet for an increment of 59 seconds and me putting silly GIFs on the screen and seeing who fucks with it.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, don't even worry about pleasing everybody, right? There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like your shit all the time. Right. And that's something I tell myself as a creative too. Cause like creative, Jesus Christ. It's like,
so artistic.
Super artistic. That's what I tell myself too. It's like, I'm going to put stuff out there and there's going to be people that like, don't fuck with it. And we will never work together. And that's cool because people put stuff out there that I think looks really bad, right? Everybody's going to click with a different style or a different person, right? So if you're going to make content, figure out what that content needs to be. If you're going to work with somebody, figure out if you fuck with that person, right? It's like you and I work so well together because we low-key might have the same brain to an extent. You have way more words than yours, but when we talk and train, like we get the clips done and then I go do my set. We run and gun, and that's how it works. I don't stand there and point a camera at you like the entire time and wait for you to say something. That wouldn't work for you, right? And I'm sure maybe you've worked with people in the past where like it was a little fucking awkward, right? Because you just got this person shooting a camera in your face and you're like, I don't need to talk to the camera for an hour and a half, right? I want to talk to it 3 times and make sure I get my lift in because it's the only peace of mind that I get is in this hour and a half, 2 hour session.
Right? Yeah. And I think, like you said before, it's like either is fine as long as it's authentic. And I think some people might struggle with authenticity. And I think the straightest line to authenticity is sustainability. If you don't know what's authentic, ask yourself what you can continuously do for an extended period of time. And that's what's authentic. And because like there's so many people out there in our consumer space and like the scarcity mindset of the fitness industry is crazy. And like, I understand it to a certain degree because the consumer base of fitness related products is relatively small when we think of consumer product goods. Like people who are buying bottled water far outnumber the number of people who are buying online coaching or exercise programming, right? So if you're like Dasani or Smart Water or something, it's like you just have an ability to reach more people. You have a little bit more of a competitive landscape, but your total addressable market is everyone on the planet, right? Like this isn't water. This is an elective service. This is a luxury good in a lot of cases. So it's like, but part of that is an opportunity because maybe people on the periphery, the consumers that aren't in the marketplace for coaching, they're just not in the marketplace for the way coaching has been marketed so far, right? Like I was talking to someone just before this call and they were getting into the education space. And I thought, wow, what a great opportunity for me. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, you'll bring people into the digital fitness education space that wouldn't otherwise ever step into it. So you're going to bring more market share to the industry, which as someone who owns a business who does digital education, that's great. I'll happily help this guy bring more people because he's going to bring a unique audience. And because he doesn't do it yet, there's a lot of people who do what we do in some way, shape, or form, and sometimes way too close to what we do, to be discussed off air. But they're not. They're pulling from the same pool. We're competing for the same resources. Where in a case like the gentleman I was speaking with before, or in the case of someone who it just needs to figure out their sustainable, authentic way of creating content, it's like your consumer avatar isn't realized if you're not putting out authentic material, if you're not being authentic, because your consumer avatar could be someone that wholeheartedly does not exist inside the total addressable market of the industry as we know it right now. But you could be fishing a completely untapped pond of people who never thought that. And this is where, when you look at the people who have really made the difference in the industry, like people who are making hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm talking like your Kayla Itzines, I'm talking your Chris Hemsworth. Now, obviously, Chris Hemsworth, strategic advantage of being a superhero and also ridiculously handsome. But it's like, he's not competing for the same audience that I'm competing at. Right? If he got into fitness education, I'd be like, oh my God, what a miracle. Because none of the people who come to our courses are going to take a Hemsworth course. But there's at least a likelihood that people might get into higher level thinking about training through Hemsworth that brings up the total amount of market, like the market cap within our industry. Right. So I think I was having a discussion with a kid wearing pink Crocs once. And I thought, dude, you're sitting on a gold mine. But he's sitting there trying to talk like a 280-pound bodybuilder. I'm like, you're about 125 pounds. Like, you're shredded. You're wearing pink Crocs. He's a quirky kid. But I'm like, dude, there's a lot of quirky people out there with money that look at me and go, not a chance in hell. Right. So like, you're actually competing for a resource that's been untargeted in the industry. And you're trying to come into my world and compete for my people. It's like, my people look at pink Crocs and go, not a chance in hell, right? You need to find the pink Crocs of the world, and you're going to own that pink Croc market, because no one else has thought, and even if they tried to think, no one else has embodied and been that authentic version that also likes fitness. Like, there's an idea of intersectionality that could have a negative connotation, but I think in this case it's super useful. It's like, people have dimension to them, right? And fitness is one dimension. But it's like, well, how many intersections can you meet people at, and then also bring the intersection of fitness, right? Like, there's a dude right now that's in one of our courses that is a lawyer that has lost like 100 pounds in the last year, lifting lawyer dad on Instagram. And it's like, he reached out once. He's like, hey, do you think these courses are too complicated? He told me a bit about his backstory. I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you're probably a pretty smart guy because, you're a lawyer. And now he's like in the courses, and it's like, there's an intersection there. The intersection is not necessarily fitness education. He's not a fitness coach, but the intersection is like, this guy talks fast and uses big words. I'm a lawyer. I probably do something similar. So like, there's a gravity that comes with more intersectionality. And like, there are people we know people in the brand that work for the company that have been with us for a long time. Like, you can see the dimensions. It's like, you see a bunch of like white guys, high fades, beards, tattoos, like similar music, love dogs, like traveling, like sushi. Like, all of these are relative intersections, some more closely aligned than others. But it's like, yeah, the more intersectionality you have, the more dimension you have, the more gravity you have, the more pull that you have. Right? So everyone's trying to just tap this very shallow, no pun intended, pond on one dimension of fitness. It's like, yeah, no, we got the fitness thing. We understand that. What else you got? Right. And then that's where I think the diversity in content creation and storytelling is like and I'm not going to go so far as a lost art, but just like something that people don't pay attention to. Like, hey, idiot, they're buying who you are, not what you know. Maybe do a little bit of that.